On my birthday, I disappeared without telling anyone. At first, nobody thought much of it. They all figured I was just throwing a fit, and would come back soon enough. But one day passed, 2 days, 3 days, a whole month. I never showed up again. I had hoped I could just live quietly on my own, until the school called the house. And that's when the Chu family finally realized. I hadn't been home in a long time. My father, Chu Dahai, was furious. All I did was forget to get him a birthday cake. And he can't even be bothered to come home. Doesn't he have the money to buy his own cake? My mother, Ling Shui, let out a sigh. That kid is just so ungrateful. Takes the family's money and who knows where it all goes. Then Ling Shui turned to Chu Dahai and asked, "How much allowance do you give her every month?" I'd like to ask the same thing. How is it she can't just buy her own cake? Chu Dahai looked confused by the question. She's so difficult. Why would I give her an allowance? Then he added, "Even if I haven't been giving her money, the allowance you give her should be more than enough." Ling Shui went quiet. I haven't been giving her any either. Before she could even finish, the two of them looked at each other and asked at the same time, "You haven't been giving her allowance either." Neither of them could quite believe it. They gave their adopted son, Xiaofei, tens of thousands every month, plus the 3 older sisters chipped in here and there. He never had to worry about money, and on holidays and birthdays, they'd give him even more. But it seemed like they had never once given me anything. My father, Chu Dahai, called the housekeeper over and asked, "Which room is Chu Zihao's?" The housekeeper was a little taken aback. The family didn't even know where their own biological son's room was. But as the Chu family's housekeeper, she knew better than to ask questions she had no business asking. She lowered her head respectfully. "Sir, ma'am, young missus, please follow me." The housekeeper led them through a maze of hallways, and finally stopped at a tiny storage room tucked in the corner. "Sir, ma'am, young missus, this is young Master Chu Zihao's room." Under everyone's puzzled stares, the housekeeper pushed open the door. The tiny room revealed itself. Everyone stared in disbelief at just how small it was. The word storage was still written on the door. "Zihao, how is he living here?" Ling Shu said in disbelief. Chu Dahai's brow was furrowed hard. He turned to the housekeeper and asked sharply, "What's going on? Why is Zihao living in a storage room?" The housekeeper quietly sighed inside. She answered honestly, "Sir, young Master Zihao moved into the storage room when he was 8 years old. He has been living here for 8 years. Truthfully, this tiny room was even smaller than her own quarters, and there was barely anything inside. The true heir of this wealthy family was living in a room like this, while the adopted son had taken his large bedroom, was spending money that should have been his, and enjoying the love of the entire family." She felt deeply sorry for him, but the master and mistress were just so blinded, and there was nothing she could do about it. Ling Shu and Chu Dahai exchanged a stunned look. They remembered now. When he was 8, they had taken in the adopted child, and Chu Fei had wanted Zihao's big room. They had planned to set up another large room for Zihao, but he kept getting into trouble, and they had put it off to teach him a lesson. That delay had stretched into 8 full years. A flash of guilt crossed both their eyes. I was their biological son, yet I had spent 8 years in this tiny storage room in the Chu household. They had failed me. The family filed into the room one by one. Nothing inside matched what any of them had imagined. The room was tiny. There was nothing but a small bed, and a narrow wardrobe, a small desk and a little stool. The blanket on the bed was worn thin. Nobody dared think about how he had survived the winters. The 5 of them standing in there was already a crowd. The 3 sisters took in the sight, and were genuinely shocked. Their own rooms, and Chu Fei's, were enormous, with great natural light, professionally designed down to every last detail. And yet they were all children of the same household. They could not wrap their heads around it. I had been crammed into this suffocating little room all along. There was a bank card on the desk. Ling Shui recognized it immediately. It was the birthday gift she had given me when I was little. He hadn't even taken it with him, left the card behind. Was Chu Zihao planning to just starve out there? Chu Shiwei said with exasperation. You could always link a card to your phone. But this card was under Mom's name. They each had one. Leaving it at home, wasn't he worried Mom might just cancel it? Ling Shui picked up the card with trembling hands and quickly pulled out her phone to check the transaction history on the account. Everyone else understood what she was looking for and crowded in to look. She opened the app. Ling Shui opened an account that hadn't been touched in 8 years. What appeared on the screen next stopped everyone cold. Aside from the 200,000 Ling Shui had originally deposited, the account was completely empty. Not a single transaction in 8 years. The last purchase on the card was 6 years ago, and the last deposit was 8 years ago. Which meant that by the time I was 10, 6 years ago, I had already stopped using this card entirely. Chu Dahai's voice came out strained. When was the last time any of you gave Zihao cash? The room went silent, and after a long pause, Ling Shui answered, 8 years ago. The 3 Chu sisters were equally stunned. They said together, same for us. Then how has he been surviving? Chu Junlin murmured in disbelief. At that point, the housekeeper standing nearby finally couldn't hold it in. She had worked for the Chu family for over 20 years. She had been there before the oldest daughter was even born. She looked at the master and mistress and spoke carefully. Ever since the adopted child came into the house, young Master Zihao spent most of his time in this storage room. He was always upsetting you all, and often went hungry. For a while it was manageable. Young Master Zihao would buy bread and things like that to get by, but once his money ran out, after going hungry for a stretch, one day I went out to buy groceries, and I found him washing dishes at a restaurant nearby. Washing dishes? Someone cried out in disbelief. The housekeeper nodded. Young Master Zihao was still very young then. He wasn't making much. So I used to secretly give him bread, but as he got older, he was able to earn enough to buy his own food. The whole family was stunned. It was true. Every time I was home, I somehow always ended up in trouble, and I only ever dared take food from right in front of me. Every time I got yelled at or hit, I really hadn't been eating much at all. Nobody had imagined he'd been driven to work a part-time job just to feed himself. He was 10, only 10 years old. And he was out there washing dishes, and kept doing it for 6 years. Chu Dahai said angrily, "Something this serious. Why didn't you tell me?" The housekeeper flinched at his anger.
She quickly explained, and when I found him, young Master Zihao saw me too.
He begged me not to say anything. Ling Shui was already sobbing. Her poor child. She couldn't even bring herself to picture it. A 10-year-old and this tiny little kid, going out to wash dishes for strangers. Just to scrape together enough to buy a piece of bread, he was a Chu, their son. He was supposed to be the pampered young master of this household. How could he have endured that? Their 3 daughters had never even boiled water for themselves, let alone gone out to wash dishes to survive. Ling Shui thought of my rough, calloused hands, and felt a pain grip her heart. Chu Dahai stood there in a daze, and quietly said, "I remember now, a few years back a hotel owner mentioned to me, there was a little boy washing dishes in his kitchen who looked like us. I didn't think anything of it at the time. It never crossed my mind that he would go out and wash dishes for money. I really didn't know." In that moment, Chu Dahai finally admitted the truth of how badly I had been treated under his roof. He was filled with regret. If only he had gone to check back then. "He wouldn't have let me suffer all those years," Ling Shui cried as she spoke. "It's our fault. We were too hard on him, and we gave him so little attention that he never felt he could come to us." Chu Junlin let out a long sigh. She had once noticed my rough hands by chance, and had felt a flicker of curiosity then. But she had grown so used to being cold toward me that she hadn't asked. Now she heard from their parents that he had been genuinely hurt and injured today, and nobody knew how he was doing. The small storage room fell into a heavy silence. The second sister, Chu Ruohan, seemed to be thinking something over, but said nothing. The third sister, Chu Xiyue, felt a small stir inside, but she still looked down on me. For all she knew, this was just his way of playing the victim, and around the corner, out of sight. Chu Fei stood frozen, fists clenched tight. She had thought that once she pushed him out, this family would truly be hers. She had finally gotten him to leave. But now that he was gone, it had only made them worry about him more. Chu Fei took a slow breath, pushed down the rage and jealousy burning inside her, and pretended she had just woken up. She appeared at the corner as if she'd just wandered over. "Mom, Dad, you're back." Her voice was weak and she leaned against the doorframe, looking like she might collapse any second. "Chu Fei," Chu Wenbo called out, and rushed over to support her. He asked gently, "Is it your heart again?" Chu Fei pressed a hand to her chest and gave a feeble nod. "I'm fine, just need to rest." Chu Fei's cheeks were pink and healthy. There wasn't a trace of actual weakness about her, yet somehow this terrible acting always managed to fool the whole Chu family. Even in her frail state, she remembered to ask, "How is Zihao? Is he okay?" Hearing Chu Fei's voice, Ling Shui stopped crying and came toward her. She hesitated a moment, then asked anyway, "Chu Fei, be honest with me. Why do you keep sending people to beat up Zihao?" That question caught all 3 sisters off guard. They knew Chu Zihao had been beaten, badly, and by a group of people. But how? How could Chu Fei have been the one behind it? Chu Fei's hands went still at her sides. She quickly composed herself and looked up with wide, innocent eyes. "Mom, why would you say something like that? Zihao is my brother no matter what. Why would I ever send people to hurt him?" As she spoke, her eyes quickly filled with tears, ready to spill at any moment, as if she were the one who had been wronged. But this time, Ling Shui and Chu Dahai didn't rush to comfort her like they always had before. They held steady. "We watched the security footage. It clearly shows you leading the attack," Ling Shui said with a slight frown. Chu Fei's hands tightened. Security footage? There was security footage. She usually made sure to do it somewhere without cameras. In the bathroom. In back alleys. How was there footage? She frantically tried to recall every time she had gone after Chu Zihao. A few times had been in the hallway. She had gotten careless before Chu Fei could say anything. Chu Xiyue jumped in. "Mom, Dad, videos can be fake these days. How do you even know the footage you saw is real, compared to Chu Xiyue?" Chu Ruohan was a little calmer. She frowned and asked, "Mom, Dad, where exactly did you see this footage? Could Chu Zihao